Live from the Spill Studios over the internets, it's time once again for a couple of cold ones with Corey and Carlisle.
You just say over the internets.
Over the internets.
Now, you sound like Madea. You sound like Tyler Perry saying it. Over the internets.
Well, you know where that came from, right?
What, over the internets? No, where'd that come from?
Internets. That was from George W. Bush during the debate in 2004 where he said, I know there's been rumors going around on the internets. And from then on, people started joking about the internets, and it just became a long-running gag. We have ex-president George W. Bush to thank for that meme.
Administration became a long-running gag. But anyway, man, we're not here to talk about politics. We're here to talk about the movies and other bullshit. And I apologize for getting started so late tonight. I went to go see... Okay, I told you, I have a friend of mine who invites me to go see shows all the time. And tonight he invited me to go see, of all things, Motorhead. And yet, yeah, that was a kick-ass
cool.
show. Motorhead is kick-ass, man.
Yeah, I've never gotten to see them live. They were supposed to play live at a concert that I went to ages ago. Ozzy Osbourne was playing. They were supposed to open for Ozzy, and instead they canceled and got replaced at the last minute by a relatively unknown band at the time,
Coldplay.
Alice in Chains.
Oh, well, that wasn't such a bad band.
No. It was a great. Alice in Chains was great. In fact, what's odd is the opening act for that concert was Blind Melon. So I actually got to see one of the few live performances of Blind Melon before they became big and before the lead singer up and injected himself with lots of heroin.
Damn, that was back in those grunge days. A lot of bands you don't hear from anymore.
Oh yeah,
like Blind Melon. They were responsible for that song with the B-girl.
Yeah, No Rain.
No Rain, yeah. They got pissed off because that girl got more attention than the band. That girl is still more famous than that fucking band, man.
Well, that's because the lead singer died just after they became famous. He overdosed on heroin, and the band fell apart because the lead singer was gone.
Oh, but no, that B-girl was bigger.
She was.
Yeah, because they did a show where the B girl came out, and the lead singer was one of the people who's like, fuck this girl, man. We don't even like this girl. This is like a big publicity stunt now, and nobody's listening to us. They wanted to see some little goddamn girl dancing around in a bee costume. But yeah, I mean, they were good bands, man. But I tell you, have you ever seen Motorhead live?
No, that's what I was saying. Is I did not get a chance to.
Man, people, let me tell you something. You really are as young as you feel. If you don't know Motorhead, they are a heavy metal band from England. And they're best known for probably two hits like Eat the Rich and Ace of Spades. And the lead singer at this point is like in his 60s. And that motherfucker rocked the house like he was goddamn 19 years old, man.
Lemmy. Lemmy's his name. Yeah.
Yes, Lemmy. This guy, you could tell this guy's like he's a real rocker, man. He looks like he just grew up street fighting. He's like a guy who has like that biker facial hair, and he has all these moles on his face, and he's still smoking and drinking like he's a fiend. And they put on a really cool show, man. I can't tell you how good that show was. That's why I came out. That's why I came up late tonight.
Who invited you to the show?
My friend Greg. Greg is the kind of guy, he'll invite. See, we see everything. See, people, you don't understand. I listen to everything. As long as you give me some good music or you invite me to a good show, I'll go. I've been to country shows where I'm the only black, I'm the only nigger in the middle of the crowd.
Yeah, because when you go to country shows, you're not black, you're a Negro.
That's why I said that. Not even Negro, you're a Negro.
Negro.
And yeah, man. And so him and I, we go to all kind of different shows, man. And sometimes they're bands you never heard of before, and sometimes it's a surprise. It's something huge. And tonight it was like Motorhead, Reverend Horton Heat, and Nashville Pussy.
Why didn't you mention Reverend Horton Heat, man? They're freaking awesome.
Because you know what, I didn't get to see a whole lot of that show because I got there a little bit late because I couldn't get there until he got there. But those one or two songs I saw, it was cool. It was a good show.
I've seen them live 3 or 4 times. Reverend Horton Heat is awesome.
Yeah, I had a fun time. Hey, look, like I said, listen to everything. I've heard a lot of Reverend Horton Heat songs. I mean, the one that I remember the most is it's a psychobilly freakout, and they start playing all that psychobilly music and shit. And you
don't remember It's Martini Time?
Nah, I wasn't that big of a fan.
Well, that's I'm pretty sure that song in particular off of the Heat is in Swingers.
Oh, really?
I'm not 100% sure, but I remember. I think I remember that being in swingers. Yeah, it was. They were really big in that swing movement in the '90s as well. Even though they weren't really swing, but they had that kind of '50s martini drinking vibe, and they were pretty cool. I dig them a lot.
I would have loved that. I love that lounge shit. You know, I'm the kind of guy that says every major town, especially Austin, needs a place where people can put on their suit and go to, and that's a dress code, kind of like what they did back in Vegas in the 60s and before that, you know, with the Rat Pack kind of shit. Yeah, so I would have dug that kind of shit, man. But yeah, I wish you could have gone. You know, if you really like Reverend Horton Heat, and if you like Motorhead, this would have been a good show for you. But I didn't know you were into that kind of thing. So.
Oh yeah, no, I dig that kind of music. Actually, you're speaking to me, man.
I'm speaking your lingo, man. But and tonight again, I was probably one thing I noticed, man. A lot of black girls show up. Black girls have a much more diverse taste in music than black men. Because when I was there tonight, I must have counted like about 2 black women, which is a lot for like a show like Motorhead. But I'm always the only black dude at these shows.
Well, I mean, you are in Austin.
I know. I just figured, like, you know, being in Austin, it would be like a little more open minded. I'm sure there's that other black dude across the crowd that I'm like probably telecommuting with, and I can't even like and I don't even know it. Like I'm having telekinesis with him.
I think you'd run into one of those situations like that scene from Not Another Teen Movie where the guy pulls the other guy aside in the kitchen and says, "What are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm here for the party with my." "Oh, dude, you're the black guy at this party?" "Yeah, I'm the black guy at this party." "Oh, my bad, man. I'm sorry."
Yeah. Don't let there be 2 black people at like a rock show or a all white party, because if you do, like a vortex will open and just suck the whole crowd in. You know, we touch each other and shit.
We only allow 1 token at our shows, man. I mean, that's the rule.
Well, we've filled our quota of black men tonight, which is 1. We can close the gates now. But anyway, man.
And it's just the opposite of black churches, because you can have that one white family in there, but any more than one white family, and it gets a little weird. It's like, what kind of church is this? I don't know now.
All right, if you're in a Tyler Perry movie, you can have more than one white family, but they all have to sit in the back.
Well, because it's about goddamn time, right?
It is. I guess it's like some sort of reverse.
That's what we call a black feel-good movie.
Yes, it is. I told Leon, I was like, I'm waiting for that Tyler Perry movie where it's like the white Rosa Parks gets up and sits in the front of the church and that makes this whole big movement. But how you doing, man? I'm talking about me. How's everything going with you?
Oh, I'm doing real well. I've been locked inside my Fortress of Solitude watching movies all weekend.
What did you watch? Have you been watching screeners from Fantastic Fest?
Yeah, and then a bunch of Blu-rays that have come in the mail. So I've been watching a whole mess of stuff. But yeah, mostly screeners. Watching lots of really good stuff. And we could talk about that tonight. We could give the early preview of Fantastic Fest.
I was going to say, because I heard about some movies from Cyrus and from Mark Savlov from The Chronicle. I was talking to him tonight. He was telling me about some of the screeners. He told me about one that I'm sure all of you guys have seen, and it's the weirdest, sickest shit I've ever heard of. But we'll talk about that. You know what?
I haven't. I don't think I've gotten that screener yet, but we'll talk about that.
Okay. Well, before we get into that, you know what we do every week? We have to talk about the top 5 first.
Oh, I thought we tried to conquer the world.
Oh! No, I thought that was a given.
That's every night. Every week we do the top 5 brought to you by Rossville.
All right, then. We are going to start out. See, a lot of people, if you're here for the first time, we don't start with number 1. We start backwards. We start with number 5. And number 5...
The number 5 movie of the week is...
Jennifer's Body, which brought
it cracked into the top 5, huh?
It barely. It came in with a very low $6.8 million. The movie cost $16 million to make, so it's not terrible for its budget, but came in a lot lower than expected. So.
Well, it's terrible for what this movie should have done. Whether you like this movie or not, I'm hearing mixed reviews from the people who have seen it so far, and I know you've seen it. I haven't talked to you yet, but this is a rated PG-13 horror movie starring one of the biggest female draws out there right now. Everybody's talking about her. Everybody's Googling her. Everyone's in love with her. How does a movie like this make $6.7 million?
I don't know, but somehow it did. And I think it's rated R, actually.
Oh, I was under the impression that this was a PG-13 movie. That was the whole thing with it.
No, this is rated R because there's not graphic scenes of sex, but there's a lot of sexual scenes in there and a lot of graphic talk. And I would be really surprised if this was a rated PG-13. Let me just say that.
I'm actually checking it right now.
Yeah, check and see. But I mean, even that's even worse because.
Oh, okay, no, it is rated R.
And see something that is worse because we talked about.
Someone told me it was PG-13.
No,
and that was part of the reason I wasn't too interested in it.
And fuck this movie because it's rated R. We don't see any of Megan Good's bits in there. We don't see no tits. We don't see no ass. Everything.
Megan Good?
I mean, Megan. Well, you must know who I have on the brain right now. But
yes, I do.
I'm a Megan Good fan more than a Megan Fox girl myself. But Megan Fox does not get naked in this movie, and we were promised that. Like they made a big deal about her getting like topless in the movie a long time ago, and then they decided to pull it from the film. So I think there's actually a scene in there where she is topless, and they cut it.
Well, no, the big thing was that there was photos floating around that they shot from the film that someone snapped. They were candids of her walking around in these pasties that covered her nipples up, but she was otherwise looking naked, and people felt that would lead to believe that this film involved nudity, which I had never actually heard was the case. So
yeah, I mean, come on, it's like. What's the big deal? You think you're too good to do that shit? Every chick that it's funny. A lot of chicks who've gotten topless in movies have gone on to win some Academy Awards, kind of in the same movies that they were topless in. I mean, look at Halle Berry in Monsters Ball. Man, crazy sex scene in there. Chick goes on to win an Oscar. See?
Yeah, you can win an Oscar, but there's a certain level of respect, and I totally understand it. Having talked to several actress friends in the past, a lot of them have had really bad experiences where you do that film where you appear topless even for a few frames, and what ends up happening is it circulates on the internet. I had a friend who complained that she found her pictures in a Hustler, that someone sent her the Hustler, and they took scenes from movies and showed all the stills, and the idea that this thing that you did for art is in a spank book is really kind of degrading to these women, and so I can kind of understand making that choice not to do it. Although Megan Fox, her entire career exists based upon her sexuality.
Yes.
Nobody likes Megan Fox because I have never in my life heard anyone say, "Oh, that Megan Fox is a really great actress." No, you don't think that. And if you do, you're thinking with the wrong head there, bimbo.
No, exactly. Let me tell you my thoughts on this. I mean, get it out the way early. I mean, she's hot right now. She's a sex pot. And like you said, her acting is not what people are actually taking into account first and foremost. It's her tits and her ass. And the thing is that you get it out the way while you're young, and then you move on to like more classy things, and then you say, yeah, I took those pictures when I was young. Yeah, they're circulating everywhere, but now I'm a good actress. I'm even directing and producing now, and nobody even cares at a certain point. So, but
well,
yeah, I mean, let me just say that the movie wasn't even all that great. So it doesn't matter if she got naked in the movie or not. I don't want people to think I'm that shallow, which I can be, but the movie just wasn't all that strong. And I can understand why the movie came in at number 5. I just think it's funny because everybody made a big deal about it. Being Diablo Cody, the woman who wrote this and wrote Juno, and she wrote it saying, "Oh, well, I'm writing this movie to show that chicks are really cool and they can get into horror movies too." And it's just like, well, you kind of wrote Juno as a horror movie. Dialogue that's too hip, and we wrote a horror movie that we've all kind of seen before. It really wasn't that great. So,
was the dialogue ultra hip in this?
It was, and see, some of it's funny. At the beginning, I was kind of hanging with it, but as the movie went along, they were trying really hard to be hip. And
you know what's sad? Remember Disaster Movie?
Yeah.
Remember that terrible? Remember the one thing that was funny in that movie was how close they nailed Diablo Cody.
Yeah.
Like the one thing those two numbnuts, no talent directors can do is make fun of Diablo Cody effectively, and it was really kind of funny.
Yeah, that was one of the running jokes that I thought it went on too long, but I was like, hey, well, you got that right at least. So anyway, yeah, Jennifer's Body. Not a lot of people were thrilled about it. They're not buying into the hype of Megan Fox or Diablo Cody with this one. So let's move on to number 4.
Number 4 movie of the week.
Man, one of those romantic comedies that came out that kind of went under the radar with us at least, which is Love Happens, which brought in $8.5 million with a budget of $18 million. So
well, they did screenings of it. They just didn't screen it in Austin.
And see, that's funny because this is a Universal movie, and I know Harry Knowles is like doing a lot of the screenings here now, so maybe they just thought that this wasn't a movie for him, so we didn't get to see it.
It's possible. I'm not hearing any good word on this movie.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston and what's his name, Harvey Dent.
Aaron Eckhart?
Yeah, Aaron Eckhart. Yeah, I can't tell you anything about it because since they didn't do anything here in Austin with it, even so much as like give us any kind of heads up, I wasn't following the movie. Have you heard anything about this at all?
I know it's a romantic comedy and that it's a new Jennifer Aniston movie, but aside from that, yeah, it was something that really wasn't on my radar, and the fact that they didn't show it here just was like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah, same here. I mean, really, maybe the movie was great. I've been hearing some pretty bad things about it myself, reading on it, and when I say hearing some bad things, I'll go to Rotten Tomatoes every now and then, and I see that movie kind of rated very low. So, and it looks bland. I mean, it looks like everything else we've seen out there. So now, I didn't really hurt myself about it.
I'm going to end up seeing it because, I do kind of dig these movies. And we do sometimes find ourselves in the minority of critics when it comes to romantic comedies. I mean, one of the things I was watching this weekend was the Blu-ray for Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, which we all loved. And that got Rotten Tomatoes had that at 37%. We were in the minority on that one, but I still adore the hell out of that movie. So, I'm going to check it out. We'll see if it's any good. Of course, I won't get to check it out this week because Fantastic Fest.
Yeah, and keep in mind, people, a lot of people think that we're kind of a genre movie site where we only review like fantasy horror and some extreme comedies that appeal to the nerdy crowd or certain movie people. And not really. We review anything and try to do it fairly. I mean, it's just what we're given to see. And sometimes they're pulling back on a lot of movies right now. Speaking of which, tomorrow, I think we're going to have to do one of those unscreened things for surrogates because they're not letting us see that here.
Oh, they're not bringing surrogates?
Nope.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
there's a couple things coming out this week that they're not showing us. Pandorum comes out next week, too.
Well, they're showing to the public, but not us. They're having a Thursday night screening. See, that's the other thing that sucks, people. They're having screenings for the public, but they won't let critics into it. And they did that with, like, Sorority Row, and now they're doing that with Pandorum, and so we won't get to see that. So we're forced to do one of our unscreened reviews because we have nothing else to do. But we do have some screenings this week. Zombieland. And Michael Moore's movie, Capitalism. Yeah, so it's not like we don't have anything to do. They're just not giving us some big movies. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
And then we're gonna have tons of stuff this week too, because there are a lot of big premieres in this town this week. So
oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So let's move up to number 3.
The number 3 movie
is Tyler Perry's I Can Do It All. No, I'm fucking this title up already. Tyler Perry's I Can Do Bad All By Myself, which last week was number 1, and this week it brought in $10.1 million for a total of $38 million overall. And Tyler Perry makes his movies for about $12, so he's doing all right now.
Yep.
Yeah. So actually, no. You know what? Let me see. Last week it was number 1 last week, of course. Yeah. So what can we say about Tyler Perry than what we've always said?
Than we didn't say last week when we spent an hour and a half talking about it.
Yeah, he's got his audience on lockdown. So as long as he keeps that up, he's probably going to be number 1 until people start to realize, oh, fuck, I've seen this movie 5 times already. So that brings us to number 2.
The number 2 movie.
It is number 2, but didn't do gangbuster business, but didn't do bad for what it was. The Informant. Opening weekend brought in $10.5 million. It is budgeted at $22 million, so this movie's going to probably go on to do well.
Yeah, it'll do decently. Not a mainstream film. That was the thing, is I really like this a lot, but it was not something that was geared towards being a big film. So I can't really say that I'm surprised that it didn't do all that well, but it's a really good movie.
You know something? It did do well for just coming up at the last minute, coming out of nowhere. For a Steven Soderbergh film movie, which, as we all know, Steven Soderbergh, he's made some mainstream movies that have done well. Again, Out of Sight is one movie of his that I love. But The Informant, I didn't really hear about this movie until like a couple of weeks ago, and I think this movie probably had been getting a lot of press because, well, let's just say that without seeing the movie, the most obvious thing about it is Matt Damon is fat.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that never struck me. I mean, I saw it during the film. It's like, oh, hey, you put on a little weight, but I really don't think that's the most glaring thing about it.
Well, see, it was for me because I was thinking like, all right, I'm not one of those people who's gonna like just focus in on, oh, he's fat, but I did look at him and say, okay, I think he has a prosthetic for the nose, and they've put some stuff in his cheeks, but for being Matt Damon, somebody who was in the Bourne movies not too long ago, he really did transform himself for that film, and I'm glad the movie's done well for him. Yeah, man,
and he gives an incredible performance in the film too. He's not at all like he's ever played before. He really got into this character.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wish we had talked about more during our review. We kind of glossed over that, but he did do really well in this movie. Do you think he'll get nominated for this?
I think he will probably get nominated. He's not going to win for it because it's not that kind of a powerful role.
Yeah.
But it is a nomination role, and it's one that he's probably going to get nominated because he's someone that really – he's in that special category of guy who everybody knows deserves an Oscar for acting, but hasn't gotten one yet and needs to find that one perfect role so he can get it.
Yeah.
And just – He's a guy like Brad Pitt. He's an incredible actor who takes movies that interest him and takes movies that are smart choices.
Yeah.
But he doesn't play ball. You're never going to find him in the Holocaust picture. You're not going to find him playing the defiant Nazi because he knows that'll get him an Oscar. He's going to take interesting roles like this. He's going to take stuff that he really excites him. Things like working with Soderbergh on a small film like this, or working on the Ocean's films and doing the Bourne movies and things that really speak to him.
Yeah, and the Academy, I agree with you on that. This is the kind of role that the Academy Awards is going to say, well, this isn't a winner role, but we're going to go ahead and nominate you to show you that, hey, thanks, and we do recognize your talent. So that brings us to number one, man.
Number one movie of the week is
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Really?
Yeah, man. And hey, look,
it do?
$30 million. That's how well it did. Pretty much just eviscerated all the other competition. $30.1 million, man.
And this movie this literally just came out of nowhere. They tried promoting this earlier this year, and everybody kind of yawned at it. Nobody cared. It was a September animation release. Those always universally, historically suck. There was a screening for this, and it was one of those things where it's like, man, it's too early to see that. I've seen these September releases a million times. I passed on it. You guys went, and how was it?
Loved it. One of the funniest things we've seen this year. It was... We were surprised because I was like everybody else. In our review, we just kept getting comments from people saying, I'm really amazed that you guys like this because I looked at the trailer for this and thought, boring, and I don't want to see this, and I'll pass and wait if I do want to see it. I'll take my kid and I'll be bored. But, man, this movie is really up there. It's Pixar quality. It is very imaginative, the theme that they have here, because they have so many jokes that they do with food, and you think that it's going to get old, and they just keep building on it. And the characters in this movie are funny. The voice work is great. I mean, this is one of those movies where they don't take themselves seriously at all. And they just keep the jokes coming and coming and coming. And it's like, man, this is probably one of those rare animated movies that is up there in my top 10 favorite animated films. It is
really that good.
It is so entertaining, man. I can't tell you. I mean, maybe it probably won't win an Academy Award, even though it's such a small category that it has a good chance. But
because it's up against one of the very best movies. Of the year.
And Up is going to win no matter what. Pixar might as well just, when they finish making a movie, they just might as well go up to the Academy and say, "Give me the award now." I'm gonna win.
That's not what they do. What they do is they extend the shelf, and they very quietly wait for the award. They don't demand it, but they do clear off a space so that they have a place to put.
I'm not saying they're going to demand it. I'm just saying that they know now, like, hey, if nothing else, we're Pixar. We're gonna win. We're not demanding this, but you might as well give it to us now. Hey, save the trouble. Just save yourself the trouble and give it to us now. We'll give an acceptance speech when the time comes. But Up is going to win this year, and Up deserves to win. Up is a better movie just for the emotional impact that it has. But I will say this, as far as just being entertained without one bit of boredom in there, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is right up there, man. It is right behind Up this year as one of the best animated features. And it's hard for me to recommend it to people because it's one of those things that you just have to see. It's so much going on that I would probably have to see it again to catch some of the things that I missed, because there's so many details going on, not with the characters in the foreground, but also the characters in the background. Great craft work on this movie, man. Not just the artistry, but just all the bits of characterization that went into it. Their extras in this movie are funny characters. So, yeah, I highly recommend it, man. I mean, I don't want to build it up for you because you'll probably go see it and be like, it's average. It's good, but it's average. But for us, going in with low expectations, that movie, it hit the mark, man.
Right on. It's good to hear.
Yeah. If you get a chance, see it. I mean, if not, you can get it on Netflix or whatever. But either way it goes, you're going to be entertained. So let's see, man. We have some stuff coming up for Fantastic Fest.
Stuff.
That's right. Fantastic Fest stuff. Fantastic Fest is the genre film festival here in Austin that is sponsored by the Alamo Drafthouse, and I believe Ain't It Cool News also.
Yeah,
right?
It was started by them. It is my favorite week of the year. I have my favorite weekend of the year, which is Button-Umathon, and then my favorite week of the year, and that's Fantastic Fest. It is 8 days of nonstop genre movies. It is only horror, science fiction, fantasy, and animation, and they kind of bend it a bit and include Japanese comedy into that.
Well, they actually begin to bring in some non-genre films, it feels like, I don't know if they're trying to fill the festival or what. But
no, they've bent the rules in the past based upon what is the idea of it, and they've kind of bent what is fantastic to mean, well, it's a fantastic